Evening, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I can see a couple have logged on. We'll give a few moments for others to join. There's a few people joining us this evening. So first of all, I'm Rhys Latham, the head teacher of Dilks Academy and also the lead for Teach Thurrock. Joining us on the presentation, we've got Andrea Parfitt, who's the ITE lead for Dilks Academy. Andrea, if you want to give us a wave. A wave. And manning the chat is Martin Curtis, who's a deputy lead for Teach Thurrock and the teaching school, who's also somewhere on the camera. Martin, you giving us a wave?
I'm not giving us a wave, but I am here. Hello.
He is here, yeah. So Martin's going to manage the chat for us. So at the top of the function, you should see an option that says Q&A. In the Q&A, if you can obviously introduce yourself. So Andrew's got an idea of who's turned up, because I know that we've had responses via email for those that are attending. So just simply place your name in the chat or the Q&A, and then Andrea can take charge of that. At any point during the presentation, if you've got any questions, again, add those to the Q&A option, and Martin will be managing that. And if I don't know the answer to them, I'm going to throw them over to Andrea, who's the guru at ITE, and we'll have the answers to everything that you throw at us.
Rhys, just before you go on to the next bit,
yeah,
I've got Anonymous saying he can't, well, I presume it's a he, they can't hear any sound. I'm wondering if they can hear us now. I think everyone else can hear us because they're saying hello. So just wondering if they can fiddle with their speakers and try and get it working.
Yeah. I've just replied to the message, can you hear us now? So hopefully they can hear us. Just want to check. Got Nicole. Can everyone else hear us?
There's just a bit of a delay on the feed, so it may take a few seconds for it to come through. But yeah, I think no one else has said there's a problem. So I'm sorry, it might be a problem your end with your computer, but we will push on, I'm afraid.
Nice. Thanks, Martin. So welcome obviously to the open evening. Obviously due to COVID restrictions, we're currently taking these remotely, but we will go through all the same information that we would have done if we were to meet face to face. So Teach Thurrock, I've introduced who I am and obviously who Andrea and Martin are, who are joining us this evening. But obviously you want to know about the partnership and what the program's all about. So first of all, what is Teach Thurrock? So Teach Thurrock Primary Partnership is a collection of Thurrock primary schools who work in partnership with the University of Greenwich. It's a new relationship for us. For a number of years we worked with the UCL and now we've moved over and we're in our first year working with the University of Greenwich. And the main aims are to train a new generation of outstanding practitioners to work in Thurrock primary schools. So the lead for all of this is Dilks Academy, and that is where Andrea Parfitt is based. So who is in the partnership? We've got a varied group of schools in the partnership. We've got a mixture of standalone academies, schools that are part of primary MATs, schools that are part of primary and secondary MATs. We've also got some faith schools, and also we've got some larger schools and some smaller schools. So there's quite a good range of schools that make up the partnership. So when we're looking at placements, we can give you a real contrast and experience from those schools that are 3, 4 form entry down to those that are 1 form entry. And like we said, we do have faith schools in the partnership programme as well. So why choose Teach Thurrock? So Teach Thurrock is a large partnership and all the partnership members are primary schools and all the primary heads sit on the board. We offer both the Pgce and apprenticeship programmes. The majority of the training year for both of these programs is in Thurrock schools. It's on the job. There is an opportunity for you to negotiate your home school. So once you've done the application, the interview, if everything is successful and Andrea speaks to you, we do offer the opportunity for you to choose your 3 top choices of schools that you'd like to go to. And then obviously that's a marrying up process with Andrea and I, making sure that we can try where we can accommodate one of your 3 choice schools. If not, obviously, we would recommend you visit a school if it's not one of your top 3 choices. We do have a supportive induction programme before the course starts. So from application right the way up to when you start your placement, Andrew is on hand to support you via email and via chat. We do have a well-established high-quality mentoring system in home schools, of which Andrea oversees, and there's quite a lot of quality assurance, again, that Martin and Andrea oversee. There is a high quality bespoke training package that is delivered from the University of Greenwich and the Royal Greenwich. And we do have a designated ITE manager, which is Andrea. And like I said, we'll support you from that application to placement and throughout the course of your training year. So it's good to have that common ground. We've got the same person, the familiar face, to talk you through the programme. With the apprenticeship route, we do offer a competitive salary during the training, which we'll go through a little bit later on. We are able to share that we do have a 100% job offer in Thurrock to all our trainees so far. So those that complete the course successfully, they are offered a job, and 95% of those jobs have been within the Teach Thurrock Primary Partnership Programme. Where those jobs haven't been available due to staffing constraints, we then do offer out to other Thurrock schools if they're interested in recruiting. So far within the programme, we've placed 82 NQTs into Thurrock. And like we said, this year we do have places and we are recruiting for both apprentices and PGCEs, but it is slightly different how you apply for the apprenticeship route compared with the PGCE route. So the PGCE training programme looks like this. So term 1 is basically the observations in the home school and the home class. And then that will be also involving observing throughout the school. So it's not just the class that you're based in, it will be getting that holistic view from EYFS all the way up to year 6 in Key Stage 2. So you can see how systems and procedures are in place in all year groups. You will be building up to working with small groups to develop that teacher presence in front of the whole classroom. And then once that competence level increases, you'll then go up to teaching the whole class. In term 2, the teaching commitment then increases up to 70% of the curriculum with guidance from your class mentor. And then the second placement takes place in the spring term at another school in the partnership. And again, that is something that will be discussed with yourselves and obviously the other heads, looking at availability and capacity within the partnership. Term 3, you then return to your home school with a teaching commitment of 80%, and that's preparing you to gain your QTS status. The apprenticeship route is slightly different. So the course lasts for 12 months, which is the equivalent of 4 school terms. So applicants have the same eligibility criteria as the PGCE route, which we'll cover later. The course begins in June 2022 and then ends in September 2023. So it starts obviously before the academic year starts. Apprenticeships are paid on UQ1 of the teacher's pay scale, and you are a full member of staff. And you will need to remain in the home school then as an ECT. So if the school has committed and agreed to taking you on as the apprentice, if you're then successful within your training course, that school then are committed to taking you on then as an ECT the following year. On the job training does take place for 20% of the time, and this could be within our partnership as Teach Thurrock or can be delivered with the Royal Greenwich. Apprentices will start off with small group teaching and observing their mentor, and training will then move them on to team teaching and teaching alone with coaching on all aspects. But it's a much quicker increase in pace and percentage of your commitment compared with the PGCE route. The route is very similar to that used to be referred to as a salaried route, in that the class responsibility will be shared. So when you're introduced in September to the class that you'll be given, you're introduced as the teacher, having that whole class responsibility and making sure that the pupils view you as the teacher. In term 3, the apprentice will prove that they've got enough evidence to achieve the teaching standard and will at this point then gain QTS. In terms 3 and 4, there will be an end of point assessment called your EPA, which will include a lesson observation and then an interview. And the EPA will focus on whether you've achieved the teacher apprenticeship standard, which is based upon the teaching standards. In order to apply for the apprenticeship route, you must be sponsored by your school to be placed on this route. So with the PGC route, you can apply through the DFE website, and you don't need to have a sponsored school. However, with the apprenticeship route, you need that school to sponsor you, because obviously they would need the commitment to then take you on for your ECT year. What does it cost? So the apprenticeship route does not cost the student, as the course fees are paid for by the school, who draw down on the levy. The PGCE costs are £9,250, and that is for a full year's worth of training. TTP will pay the apprenticeship, but like we said, at 0.1 on the unqualified teacher's pay scale. Although the PGCE route isn't salaried, as a partnership, what we have offered is a £2,000 access bursary to support you throughout the year for travel expenses, etc. So by the end of the programme, each successful apprentice will have developed the knowledge, skills and understanding to gain the qualified teacher status. And at the end point of assessment, which may take place in term 1 of the next year, you will then begin your ECT year. PGCEs will gain a PGCE with 60 credits towards a master's degree. And we have had some PGCEs who have then decided that they wish to take the master's degree on at a later point in their teaching career. In Thurrock, more so than other areas, we feel that teachers really do have an opportunity to make a substantial and a positive impact on children that they teach in Thurrock. And that's why we're really committed to making sure that we recruit and train the best standard teachers that we can for the pupils of Thurrock, because that's what they deserve. So are you eligible to apply? So in order to apply, you need an honours degree of at least a 2-2 or above. And you do need a minimum of 3 GCSEs at C or the current grade 4. And this needs to be in English, maths and science or above, and then a C grade, or you need to have passed the equivalency test. And again, that needs to be evidenced and proved in the application phase. We are looking that you've got experience in a primary school within the last 18 months before commencing the course. It's desirable but not necessary. But when we are interviewing candidates, we're interviewing at the moment and interviewed in previous years, you really can see the candidates that have gone into a classroom and got some experience, whether it's voluntary or currently working in a school, because they've got that little bit more understanding when it comes to the interview process as well. For those of you that are applying and have an overseas qualification, these need to be sent to the NARIC website, and that can ensure whether you are compliant and they can do the equivalency over here in the UK. And I'm sure Andrew can go into a bit more detail later on with that. So what do I do if I'm not eligible? So if you don't have the GCSEs or the proving of the equivalency at the moment, the best thing to do is obviously to book yourself onto the equivalency testing, and the link is on the PowerPoint. And Andrew, if you don't mind cutting in on this PowerPoint going to be shared after the presentation?
Yes, I will email it to everybody who have asked to join us today. I will email the PowerPoint over so they can have user links. Yeah,
excellent. Martin, can I just check? So I'm obviously going through the slides. So we haven't had any questions that have popped up yet, have we?
No, I'm monitoring the questions and responding to anything, but nothing substantial at the moment. I did just put, if anyone's confused by any of the acronyms that we're using, because we do slip into education talk, then please let us know. We will translate for you.
Yeah, so I think one of the acronyms I was using was the TTPP. That's the Teach Direct Primary Partnership Programme. So that's obviously us that are trying to recruit people to come on our training course. So I will try not to use acronyms, Martin. So how do I apply? So the link has moved this year. So previously it was through UCAS. So now, as I mentioned earlier, it's through the DFE website. So Andrew's put the link here on the PowerPoint. So let me say www.gov.uk. Apply for teacher training, and on there then you need to be looking for the Teach Direct programme, and we'll tell you what you need to be looking for a little bit later. The apprenticeship route is not yet on apply for teacher training or for UCAS. So if you are interested on the apprenticeship route, you need to email Andrea directly. And again, the email is on the slide, which is andrea.parfit@catrust.org.uk. And at this point, one of the questions we will ask for you is that, do you have a sponsored school or school that are supporting you? And we have had cases where this maybe the school that you're currently working are not able to support you or sponsor you, but maybe another school that you are aware of could sponsor you. Again, if you can make us aware of that, it will help the application process for that route. So apply for teacher training. So the website looks like this. So we've got some screenshots for you. So when you go onto the website, you'll come into this option. Obviously got apply for teacher training. If you're looking in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, you click the other options, but we're in England, so we will click the start now button.
Am I okay to jump in there, Reece?
Yeah.
So when you end up on this page, you've got two options. You can set up a profile. So if you are ready and eligible to apply for teacher training programs, you'll need to do that. It doesn't ask for a password initially, but it does ask for an email address. If you're simply just looking for programs, then you'll need to look to the right hand side of that page, and it says, it is really small on our slide, but it says find, what does it say, Reece? Find postgraduate teacher
teacher training courses.
That's how you get to find out about Teach Thurrock. So when you go in, if you want to apply for a teacher training program immediately, you will need to set up a profile in order for you to do that. If you just want to search for providers, you can do that without setting up a profile, and that is by clicking on that link, which takes you to the next slide.
Yep.
So this one is, you can do it in many ways. If you know the provider you want to go with, obviously Teach Thurrock, you can enter it in the by school, university or other training provider. Or if you want to do it by your city, town or postcode, I haven't given you the next page to that, but it then gives you a radius. So you could search within 10 miles. So it will give you providers within Essex and obviously within Kent, and also sort of places like Dagenham, because it's a circular radius. But actually, if you're looking for a range of training provider, that's probably a good idea. If you want to find Teach Thurrock Primary Partnership and our code is 166, you just need to put Teach Thurrock in there and it will bring it up easily, very quickly.
Yeah. I think this is a much quicker process than through the UCAS website, because I know it was quite difficult to find.
Yeah, this is a nice way of doing it.
Yeah.
Then you need to click on primary, unless you want to do you want to look into other primary teacher training programs. Teach Thurrock only does primary, but if you were to click on a range of them, then it will filter it for those. So primary will give you all of the local teacher training programs within a radius, but if you wanted to search specifically for a certain area, then you click on that one. There's probably mostly primary with mathematics are the most popular primary Pgce courses. But again, if you just want to go general primary, it will just search the wider parameter for you.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, obviously this is for the Pgces at the moment, not for those interested in the apprenticeship route.
And there we are. And that's our program. And I haven't provided the next slide, but simply click on the blue part and it will give you all of our course details. It will give you information about the campus. Just to let you know, we are working with Greenwich, but their teacher training campus is actually in Bexley Heath, so it's about a 40-minute drive, which actually is probably easier than jumping on the train and getting in to get to Greenwich. So it's a local, more localised site. But it will give you all the information. It will give information about exactly how we support applications, what the interview process is, and it helps you sort of hone down onto whether you want to choose us as a provider.
Andrea, are you able to see the Q&A? No. Okay. There's a question which is about multiple applications on the Gov website. They said they've already made one application, and how would they go about doing it again, as the Gov website isn't allowing them? I'm not sure if that's something you've come across in the past, or whether that's something we might need to look into and email them back if they can give us their name.
So if it follows the same process as the UCAS system, which as far as my understanding is that they have just matched it over to a DFE website. In previous guises, it was you were able to apply to 3 providers in your first round of apply. If they've already done so and they want to change that, that may be more a difficult process. I think they will need to withdraw from the 3 applications and then reapply in a second phase. So there should be more information on the website. When we were advised to actually we were advised that they were moving over to a different website. We were told that it was going to stay exactly the same way as it was in previous versions. So it might be you might need to do a little bit of research into that, because obviously it's not easy once you've applied to training providers. There's a process. My personal advice is, in previous times, the UCAS phone line has been extremely supportive, and also has been really supportive is the government service, where it helps you to apply to be a training teacher. So if you go on the government website, there's a phone number, and you actually can get a support assistant. So you can get an advisor on the phone who will go through the process with you and advise you of what to do next. So I would suggest that you do that and speak to one of those advisors, because they can direct you to the right person to talk about in terms of changing your decisions. But as we've been advised, it is following the same processes in previous years, which is once you've made your first 3 choices, it's not, you can't just withdraw and reapply for 3. You may have to do it on a case by a provider basis. But obviously I don't know who that person is because I've not seen that question. If you want some follow-up support, you're very welcome to email me and we can work through that together.
Yeah, they have replied, Andrea. They've replied that they've applied to one provider, but with 3 different schools.
Right. Okay. That's something that I'm sort of not familiar with, because obviously as a provider, everyone applies to teach Thurrock and then we support them in terms of the school. So that means, as far as my understanding is, you've used all of your choices, and then you may need to, if you want to come away completely from that provider and those schools, you may need to withdraw from those and then go to the next apply stage. You can't withdraw from one and choose another provider, because it's in terms of the 40-day process, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is we only have a certain amount of days to process each of the 3 choices in order to keep things tight and we don't have people hanging around for months on end. Therefore, you can't pull out of one and apply to another, because that interferes with the 40-day process. So it's my understanding you may need to withdraw from all 3 and then go to the next stage and apply to individual providers. But as I say, I'm very happy to give some one-to-one support on that after tonight's event.
Yeah, I'll keep having a look at the chat. There's nothing else come up yet.
No, nothing else yet.
Andrew, obviously I'm going to man the slides from this bit, so a bit like Miss Whitty, if you shout to me next slide and I'll move over.
Point. So the course to choose for Pgce, as you saw on the previous slide, is primary L206. That's a Pgce with QTS. When you apply to us, you do not need to elect a course that is relevant to the key stages that you wish to train in. So you apply to us. If you are successful, once you have accepted, you then elect on the key stage preference. So currently, all of our Pgces with Greenwich are general primary, which is they have a key stage 1 experience and a key stage 2 experience. Depending on the home school they have chosen, will mean that they are in one key stage for longer than the other, because we have a shorter second placement. Most of our students have chosen their strongest key stage preference because they start in the autumn term and then they return for their large 10-week block teaching practice in the summer term, and so that means that they are very much on their strongest area. If you choose and you wish to teach in the early years, you do the EYFS stroke key stage 1, which means your experience will be in reception, as we call it, and either year 1 or year 2. That does not bar you from teaching across the whole of the primary range. It just means that your training experience predominantly will be in those key stages. So it's entirely up to you. If you are very much early years previous experience or early years inclined, you can choose that one. If for general primary, and just for those of you who perhaps have not got a great deal of experience about the primary key stages, if you elect key stage 1, you'll be in year 1 or year 2. If you elect key stage 2, you'll be in year 3, 4, 5 or 6. So along the way, you'll get general primary experience. You may be able to visit the early years, but you wouldn't be expected to carry out any teaching in the early years. In terms of the apprenticeship route, as Reese went through, it's a very new programme for us as a provider. It's our first year. And when we work with Royal Greenwich, they are very keen to have apprentices who have already worked in the school previously in another role. So that means you need to be sponsored. So your head teacher would need to support your application. And what the Royal Greenwich would like that to happen is that you do a pre-application form. And it's basically the same as the DFE form, but just on a Word document. And it's signed by your head teacher and it's approved by the Royal Greenwich. And then they ask you to apply through the DFE website to their provider or their local school, which is Heronsgate. and then literally you are just pushed straight through. You're accepted immediately because you've passed the pre-application process. You'll follow the same process as any other candidate in terms of interview. There will be tests, and we'll talk about that a bit later, but it will be done with the school in mind. We have had schools join our partnership because they've got an apprentice they want to sponsor. We've also had apprentices who actually were working in another school move to a school within our partnership to start their role as an apprentice. So the school has actually offered them an apprentice role and they've sponsored them. Now, we were allowed to do that this year because that person moved from one of our trust schools to another. If you were to request to move from a school within Thurrock or out of Thurrock and wanted to work within one of our partnership schools, you'd need to be working there for quite a while before you actually apply. So if you're really keen on the apprenticeship route, you need to contact me and we need to talk through that process and how we're going to make it easy for you. The apprenticeship route is more of a risk because the head teacher is sponsoring you and agreeing to take you on as an ECT once your apprenticeship is over. And as it says on those slides, there is a possibility that you don't get your endpoint assessment in term 3 and that has to track over to term 4. Very early on in term 4, I might say, but it does impact on the school and how the school sets up their teachers. So it's got to be a school that's very much supportive of this programme and ready to sort of take that little bit of a risk. But as I say, if you are a really strong candidate and you are working in a school that can't support your apprenticeship route, there would be an opportunity for us to discuss that because a number of the schools that work at the Catalyst Academy Trust so far this year haven't got any apprentices and they are looking to have apprentices, so we could do that movement. But in terms of that route, you don't need to search for us sort of through the DFE website. If you want to take it on the Pgce with the £2,000 bursary, go through the DFE website. Thanks, Reese. Next slide. So the application process has already started. We had apply 1 on the 6th of the 10th, 21. Again, just to remind you, the apprentice route is going through me. So you just need to drop me an email and we can have a conversation via Teams or on the phone about it. Even though it has moved from UCAS to the DFE website, there is still a 40-day application process. That means from the day your application comes in, we have 40 working days to to interview and to offer. It's really important. As for us as a provider, email contact comes as soon as the application comes in. I don't work at the weekends and I don't work on Fridays, but Monday through to Thursday, if an email comes in, I will contact you as soon as I can and just say, you know, we've accepted your application. Your application has come onto our system. We are looking at it at the moment. I may give you a brief timeline of when we are interviewing because we've got a set schedule, or I might say we'll be contacting you shortly. You will then get an email from me if you are asked to take part in an interview, detailing the process and giving you some important information. But we will also update that on the DFE website with the interview date and time, so then you are alerted, so you know both ways, just in case the email goes into junk mail and you don't see it. Well, our first interviews took place on the 16th, 11th, 21, and we've got another set of interviews booked for the 23rd, so we're doing them very regularly. It's a two-part interview process. Part 1 is a maths and an English test. Maths is not obligatory for the Pgce route. It is for the apprentice route. It's not obligatory, but we do it because as a provider, we need to be sure that by the time you finish your training programme, you are able to teach the fundamental skills of English and maths. So if your maths comes back and it's really weak, we need to make a decision as whether we've got the tools and we've got the support in place to help you be able to be strong enough to teach maths to year 6 and beyond, because you may have a child who's, you know, really able at maths and capable and they need to be challenged. The English test is obligatory through the process for Greenwich, and it is a written test and it is about a response to a stimulus. And again, it's about making sure you've got the fundamental skills in English. Spelling, grammar, punctuation is fairly sound. Obviously, there's room for movement, and we adhere to the disability agenda. So we make sure that if there's anyone who comes to us with a disability, say for example dyslexia, that will be taken into account, and we would be understanding of that. So again, it's not about being the finished article. It's about, can we guarantee that by the time you finish the teacher training program the following year, that you can go out there, you can teach English to, standard English well, you can write reports to parents, you can attend meetings and write official educational reports. So it's about that broad understanding and whether you can do that. If you are successful at those interviews and we get those marked really, really quickly, we then offer you an interview. And again, COVID cases are rising in all of our schools. It will be virtual via Teams. It may be on the same day. We may do the test in the morning and interview in the afternoon. It may be a couple of days later. It all depends on when your application comes in, and we can fit it in with our interview schedule. We're really mindful that our head teachers are obviously extremely busy, and so we try not to ask them to do extra interviews. However, if a really strong application comes in, Reese and I are on the case and we're getting in contact with people straight away. So if you get a really quick interview, maybe, see it as a positive. And in terms of that process, you'd get some very detailed information about what the tests look like. For the maths, we give you some really nice links and some information about preparing for that test. Because although it touches upon the curriculum for up to at the end of Key Stage 2, a couple of the questions go beyond that. And depending on how long ago your GCSEs were, some of it may be extremely familiar, some of it can be extremely unfamiliar. So we do give you some support in terms of preparing for that. We do place the offer on the DFE website if you are successful, but that is after we have contacted you and I to speak to you. I'm not keen on people getting emails with outcomes of interviews, so you should have your phone number on the application form, and so I will give you a timeline on when we're going to call you, and we'll very quickly briefly go through successful or not. And the update on the DFE website, we're just tweaking because there's some things in place that are stopping us from putting the offer on the DFE website, but an offer will go on there. But if you get a verbal confirmation, then obviously you are on the programme, and it could well be conditional. So an unconditional offer is someone who's got all of the 3 GCSEs at C or above, or a 4 and above, and they've got the degree. An unconditional offer is simply that you've ticked all the boxes and we're just waiting for the programme to start. A conditional offer is when there are things that you have not achieved just yet, and you will be offered the place in the programme on the condition that you get those things in place. So if you're currently doing your degree, that's absolutely fine, as long as your degree status is confirmed by the time you enrol in August 2022. That's absolutely fine, and obviously you should know that fairly early. If you haven't got one of the key GCSEs and you're doing an equivalency test, it would be conditional, and we would put that as part of our conditions. Once you tick those boxes, so say for example in May you get your degree, absolutely fantastic, and in June you do your equivalency test, or you do it earlier, it then transfers from a conditional offer to an unconditional offer because you've achieved the terms of the conditions that we've set. And as Reece said, we do like people to have been in primary schools, but we recognise that it's been very difficult to get perhaps regular contact in a school. What we can do is, because we are then going to place you on the programme, we might say to you, actually, we think you need to be in a primary school between now and September, and that could be a condition that we offer you, a verbal, and we would put it in writing in an email. So we might say to you, actually, we need you to arrange to get some days in one of our schools in the partnership, because we think you need a little bit more experience. So again, those are the 3 conditions that we could have part of our offer. 2 of those are obviously statutory. 1 is something that we could offer as a part of our programme. Next slide, thanks, Reece. So I've done a lot of waffling now, and I know Reece has spoken in depth. Martin, are there any questions on the chat before we ask if there are any other questions? Martin's dead.
I've had a look. I can't find anything on the Q&A at the moment, Andrea. Nothing
Excellent.
that's popped up.
And people might feel at the moment that maybe they want to kind of absorb what we've said, or it's all a little bit mind-blowing. Some of you may be on the first stages of your journey into teaching. You may not even have a degree, and that's absolutely fine. We've got people who are now have started our programme who we saw many years back, who were in their first year of their normal degree. We've got people who actually hadn't even started a degree before they joined us at Teach Thurrock, and they finally got there. So any support I can offer in terms of that, that's absolutely fine. I can direct you. There's some really good local programs in terms of sort of degree courses that you can do to prepare you, or there's Open University. So, you know, don't hesitate to contact me. If you've got any questions that you think, actually, I don't want to put that into the public Q&A, but I actually want to do that directly from, you know, for me, and that's absolutely fine. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to take any questions directly.
We've got a couple of questions, Andrea, now. Now you said, yeah, they're getting brave and putting them in the chat. I think one thing I would add as well, I know I did mention about it really does strengthen you during the interview phase if you can get experience, and we know it is difficult with COVID, but if it is a real stumbling block, then there are some schools, particularly in the trust as well, that we will welcome you in, COVID kind of conditions and risk assessments in place, that we can support you to get that experience if that is one of the recommendations that we give as part of a conditional offer. So question one for you, Andrew, is when do we have to apply by? Today.
So the really good thing is that because we are a small provider, we don't get lots and lots and lots of applications at once. We get a steady stream of applications as the years goes by. We've got 15 schools in our partnership, and the majority of those schools do offer placements. So whilst I would encourage people to apply when they are ready, there isn't a deadline for us. And we're willing to interview quite late on into the year, aren't we, Rhys? So I think for myself, for my own my own sort of peace of mind, I'd probably apply. But if you're sitting there and thinking, well, I haven't been in a primary school for a while, do you think it's a good idea to apply? I would say maybe leave it till after Christmas and maybe ask me to see if we can arrange for you to get some experience in one of our trust schools before you apply. So you might be sitting there going, well, I tick the boxes, you know, I want to do this. I really feel like I want to do it. I've got the degree, I've got the GCSEs. I just can't get my foot in the door. Because I keep talking to my children's local school and they're saying no, and I've contacted people. I've sent email after email and no one's getting back to me. Come to me. I'll see if I can find you some opportunities. It might only be a day here and there, but we would prefer someone to come to interview who's been in that classroom, mostly so that they know that teaching is for them. Yeah, we've been, we need to be. You need to be sure as well as we are.
No, thanks for that, Andrea. Second question that's come along is what support do you receive while on the course? I know Martin's entered a few comments on that for you, talking about how you support through your role as the ITT manager, and obviously Greenwich offering their support as well with the course and the schools that you're placed in, and that kind of liaison with the mentor and how they're supported. But is there anything else you wanted to add on that? Or?
I think there's lots of layers of support. So there's the support for me, the general support as the IT manager in terms of the process. There's the links that we make before you start at the school. As a Pgce, you know your school before you start in September. So you join the school inset in the early stages. So you become part of that school family and you're part of that team. The early contact with your mentor means that there's a great deal of support, and that relationship is built really, really quickly. For the Pgces, I am the tutor. Therefore, what we describe as the three-way relationship between student, mentor and university, I'm that person as well. So that's really nice continuity. I know that the course lead who works directly with the school direct Pgce students, Roger McDonald, is absolutely fantastic. Weekly support emails, direct contact regular, you email me at any point, he responds. But there's also really well planned mental well-being and mental health support strategy in place. So they're always flagging up that if there's any extra support you need, if you need any sort of professional support during that programme when things are getting a bit tricky, there's that other layer. And I know personally, for working at the Catalyst Academy Trust, we've got that opportunity to talk to professionals when we're feeling sort of stress. But I think you'll just get bored of all the support, to be honest, because I think there's just so many people around. And we've been doing Teach Thurrock for years, and because it's all about training and retaining, it's not just that mentor who's there for you, it's that parallel teacher. I mean, you can literally wander the corridors and just say, can somebody help me please with this? And people will come and support you time and time again. So I think it's important to consider that, because it is a challenging profession. No one's sitting here and telling you that a teacher training program is going to be a breeze. But I think in terms of the support that's there to help you manage that and become resilient students, because we're not there holding hands and telling you that teaching's a really tough job and poor worries us and worries you. When you get into that classroom and you just see how those teachers just get on with the job and put the children at the centre of what they do, I think you'll just rise to that challenge. So in terms of support, it's there. We can't question that at all.
And I think with the support, Andrew, obviously it helps then produce those high quality teachers that we're getting. And we're not just saying it, but we're an A/B as well and have been for a number of years. And this year we're working with Harris through the hub. And as moderators and A/B supporters, actually you can really see the difference between those that have come to the Teach Direct route and those that have come from different providers, just with the quality and the readiness in order to complete their NQT or what is now their ECT year. They're almost that further a bit ahead just due to the standards and expectations are the norm for them. So when they're in that classroom in their first year as an NQT or an ECT, it's so much stronger. And as a head as well, I find that when I'm taking on new members of staff, some that are trained through Teach Direct and obviously some that are from other providers, and you can tell the difference, the vast difference at times as well in the quality that we're receiving. I know Martin would echo that as well as head at Summers, that you can tell the marked difference. And Andrew, I think we've always had that commented, haven't we, in all the years we've done it.
But yeah, well, we always have to go on to what head teachers say, and head teachers have lots of students in their schools. And we don't just go on what sort of kind of the people who run the program say, but we're talking to a head teacher the other day and talk about how he's got 4 very strong teachers in his school, one of which was in our first year of Teach Direct, which is 8 years ago. So that kind of gives you an example of the way that we retain and also we nurture them. And yeah, I'm just going to jump in and unpick some acronyms that Reece just threw out there. So NQT, newly qualified teacher, which is what we used to be called when we first started teaching. Not quite there we used to be described as, because we were always late because we were new to the profession and we didn't know what we were doing. Now they're called ECTs, early career teachers, and I've yet to think of what to change the ECTs to yet, Reece. If they're not quite there, but they're coming late. No,
Eager, I don't know.
Nothing polite springing to mind.
So say that again, Martin.
Nothing polite springing to mind.
Yeah, exactly. No, we just said how much we support our student teachers, and we hold our Teach Direct teachers in high esteem when they become ECTs, and then we're just saying they're actually stupid. I mean, I think that's just talking about ourselves when we were newly qualified teachers and feeling so. And I don't think I'd have felt like that if I'd have been at a Teach Direct school and trained, because when you start a new school, you're like a rabbit in the headlights of a car because you're just new to everything. And our ECTs aren't, because they've been there a year. The kids know them, the parents know them, the children respect them because we treat our trainee teachers as teachers. We don't parade them and say, oh, we're going to have a bit of this is your trainee teacher. They're going to pop in for an hour, teach you a lesson, leave, and then the real teacher's going to be here. Because they're always there and they started on the first day and they're inset day and they're there all of the time. Our children see them and respect them in the same way that they respect their teachers, which is, great to see. But as I say, I don't even know if the Teach Direct ECTs can be given a nasty acronym, because I think they're actually fantastic. Yeah. But yeah, and I think that's anecdotally and actually officially, we've had reports from head teachers to say, in terms of their progress in their first term, the Teach Direct Teach Direct students who become teachers within our Direct schools are definitely stronger for being part of our programme. Yeah,
Andrea, that's definitely our experience at Summers. We can't praise the Teach Direct courses enough, and it's really worked well for us. What I would say is just catching up on something you mentioned earlier about the apprenticeship, Andrea. So our current apprentice, who is going through the apprenticeship program and he's working towards that and will be with us as an early career teacher next year. She started working at Summers Heath in January last year as a teaching assistant, as a graduate teaching assistant, and worked for a term and then made the application and then got onto the apprenticeship course. So, there is still time to do that, and she came to us via Andrea. She'd made contact about the apprenticeship program and came to us, worked with us for a bit, and then made that application. So if you are thinking about applying for the apprenticeship, there is still time.
Definitely.
There's another comment in the live Q&A. Someone's posted that they're currently working towards a degree, so it's found that the information is helpful for them for looking for the future. And Martin, I can see that you've replied. Obviously, we're happy to hear that. Obviously, they found it useful, and obviously, if they are local, then please ask Andrea or anybody at Teach Thurrock. And if you're looking for that school experience before the application phase, once you've got that degree, we're more than happy to help. And Andrew, if they're in their final year working towards their degree, they can apply, can't they? So
they can apply now. And the conditional offer will be that they get the degree. We've had people who've attended these events previously, and they were in their first year of their degree, and then they've just returned in their final year in the autumn of their final year, and they've applied. Anna, who is currently the ECT at Summers Heath, did that. So she came to one of our open days in her first year of her degree. She knew she wanted to go for Teach Thurrock. We kept in touch. She got in early doors, got her application in early, because obviously I knew that she was doing it that year, and she was on the programme and on the salaried route by the following year. So even if you've only just started your degree, or you're about to start a degree, or you don't even have a degree, keeping that contact with the insider, which is me, is really, really key. And we do regular updates to our people who are kind of thinking about our programmes, just so we can keep in touch with them. But yeah, it would be a conditional offer, but you need to have that degree confirmed officially, not the certificate or the big ceremony, but confirmed with an official piece of paperwork before before August 2022.
Yeah, and I think we've had someone previously, haven't we, who came to one of our open evenings, who were just about to embark on their degree and actually joined one of us for some work experience as well, who ironically was an ex-pupil at Dilks Academy. And that was quite nice. So obviously she's been to the school as a pupil, she's got some experience, she's now going to do a degree. And the idea is that once that's finished, then she will apply for Teach Thurrock. So we're happy to support the whole application, any page, aren't we?
Definitely. And we've also got people, as Martin mentioned, which is the graduate teacher programme, which again Catalyst schools have, where people are perhaps not just ready to get onto teacher training, but actually want to get some experience in the classroom, or knowing that they've got a Pgce coming up and they know they need money, want perhaps a year's in employment. Look into that. We do have graduate teacher positions in all of our trust schools. A number of our graduate teachers have joined us and then have stepped over to the apprenticeship route, and in previous years the salaried route. So again, if you've maybe got a part-time degree or a degree that you're doing at home, that might be something you want to think about. You wouldn't be able to jump in on the graduate teacher role, because obviously you have to be a graduate of a degree, but there are always TA jobs out there. And when if you express that interest at interview and explain that you're on that sort of pathway, then head teachers will also give you extra experience and give you opportunities perhaps to look at other teachers teach. So it widens your experience for interview. So there's lots of sort of options that you can look at before you've got that degree.
Nice, thanks, Andrew. I can't see anything else, Martin, unless anything's coming up your end on your screen.
No, I think we've dealt with all the questions there. Thank you.
I think obviously on the slides we have mentioned obviously Andrea's email address is there, so this will be sent out. So if you do have any further queries or questions, if you can direct all of them at Andrea, that would be appreciated, because she'll know the answers more than Martin and I will ever know the answers for.
Or she'll find out the answers, because obviously tonight I didn't know one of the answers, because I just wanted to make sure we're clear with the new sort of DFE website. But yeah, anyone who contacted me, and even if they didn't join tonight, they will get this emailed to them. And obviously you've got those sort of links on there. Don't really expect too much on the Instagram page, because I haven't updated it for quite a while. But there are often things on Teach Thurrock on Twitter for you to look at. And obviously our website backs up all the information that has been given on the DFE course code.
Would you both like to put the recording of this on the website? I think people can point if they've missed something, because now a few people maybe missed the beginning with some sound issues, and maybe someone else who's interested in teaching. We can put the recording on the website.
Definitely we can do that. Yeah, I'll probably most likely pop it onto pop the link onto the website, and then Dilks, because I'm not sure if our Teach Direct website's got the capacity to host that, but we can definitely put the link onto the Teach Direct website and email that out as well.
Yeah, we can add it on the Dilks website. That's not a problem, because we've got a Getting Into Teaching page, haven't we? So it can be added on there. And again, we can send that link out and probably condense it onto a YouTube channel, which I'm sure Martin will help us with.
I was to say, not me doing that.
But yeah, we do have a good profile on Twitter as well. And actually, when you look at the slide where we mentioned the schools that are in the partnership, if I know at the minute it's difficult to get your foot in the door at schools, but it might even be a good idea to have a look at the kind of their school websites that are in the partnership, or even their Twitter page, because I think you can often get a flavour of the schools just from their social media presence about what type of school are they, what's their ethos, etc., etc. So it might just get you thinking about, oh, do you know what, when I'm going to be applying or training and choosing my preference schools, I might want to have a look at some of these schools first of all.
That's a very good point, actually, Reese. And part of our application process, or I should say our induction process, is once you've accepted a place on our programme, we'll give you opportunities to visit those schools. But initial contact with the websites, you can see a lot about a school by their website, and look at, like you say, looking at their Twitter pages and what they showcase about their children and their staff is a really good idea.
You can see this. Yeah, just checking the chat for the final time. Yeah, so the person that was mentioning earlier about their degree, they're saying that in their second year, technically, it's an open university, so it's part-time over 6 years, not 3. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we've had that before. But even if it's going to take you that long, it's just stay in contact with us. And if it is a part-time course, there might be opportunities for you to come into schools as a volunteer. We've often had that as well, and that strengthens candidates' applications.
Definitely, and let's be honest, we're all going to be working till quite late in our lives, and we've had people who've joined Teach Direct, so I said that sounded really negative, didn't it? I didn't mean that at all. I mean, that was a positive, that we'll still be in the classroom when we're in our 70s. But we've had people join our Teach Direct in their 50s. It's something, something they've always wanted to do, and they just didn't have that opportunity to get that degree, and they're currently loving teaching. So it isn't, it's not a barrier on how long it takes you to get that degree. You just got to get that degree.
And I think the blogging page as well, there's some nice articles. I know a couple of mine that have written on there about their experiences, and they're genuine as well. It's not just something that we've paid them to write. They're genuine kind of stories of their training year, and I think why choose us over the others? Well, one, because we're better than the others. We can see that within our ECTs and our NQTs as they're coming through. And for myself, as well as head of Dilks for a number of years now, our first batch of Teach Direct alumni group are now in SLT positions. So we've really seen them grown up. I'm not going to use the word journey, because I know Andrew hates the term journey, but it is a journey right from that application. And for us, it's really rewarding, like when you see the progress of pupils, that you see them from application to now being senior leaders of a school and making a real difference. And then that's what it's about for us. It's not just about recruiting, retraining and retaining teachers for our own schools. It's for all of Thurrock children, because that's what they deserve. And it sounds corny, but we believe in it, and that's why we're invested in it so much.
Definitely.
We've got another post. I'm currently working as a Hilter. Can I take the apprenticeship route? I'm keen to work in the EYFS. Will I be able to get the experience? So again, obviously, if they're currently as a Hilter, the same expectations with the qualifications, aren't they, Andrew? We still expect that degree. And I suppose my reply to that question is the school that you're a Hilter at willing to support you with the apprenticeship route? I don't know if anything you wanted to add on that, Andrew.
No, not at all. As I say, the eligibility for the apprenticeship route is exactly the same. You need to have that degree by the time you start. You don't actually have to have that degree in place by June. The university have been really helpful and allowed us to fit in with the university timetable. So if your degree doesn't come through until after June, and a number of our students, our apprentices this year did, they would put you on the course. But we'd have to be pretty sure that you were going to get that degree, Stacey. So you'd need to have your averages towards that 2 and above. You'd have to be at a school that would be open to having an apprentice in EYFS. Currently, I don't know if there are any schools in our partnership who would be open to that. If you currently work at a school that's not in Teach Thurrock, or maybe in Teach Thurrock, you've just not talked about it with your head teacher, it's something to explore. Other apprenticeship routes, there are others. I know we don't want to tell you about them, but to be open, there are other apprenticeship routes that don't expect the apprentice to be a current member of staff. And so I do think you need to explore that as well, because if we can't get you on our programme and you go on to another programme, that's still a fantastic teacher for our children in Thurrock. So, you know, I'm happy to, after the meeting is over tomorrow, or whenever you contact me, I can direct you to other local providers that do host apprenticeship routes. Obviously, I'm not going to do the big sell for them because I'm invested in our programme. But I do recognise that sometimes you might not be able to get it the way you want it. So it's better to sort of keep all your options open.
Yep, hopefully that answered that question.
Hope so.
The anonymous person, I'm not sure who that was. Just do one final check.
No, I can't see anything else, Reece.
No, and there's ample opportunity for you to, once you've digested this and thought, oh, I wish I'd asked that question, absolutely fine for you to ask those questions directly to me, and I can direct you into the right way or answer the question if I can. There's no time limit on that. And in terms of applications, it is open. Obviously, we feel the apprenticeship route's a bit quicker because we have a certain number of schools. But again, get in there early and have a conversation with myself, and we can work from there. I don't think there's anything I need to add. Recently,
no, I can't see anything else. But other than that, obviously, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Martin, and thank you everyone for joining us. Again, if you've got any questions, just ping us an email. And other than that, best of luck. Obviously, if you choose us, other than the other providers, you made the right choice. Well done. But joking aside, you're more than welcome to apply to a number of providers. I mean, we do always recommend that. It's good to look at others and what they're offering, and I think it'll just strengthen why you will choose us over the others. But hopefully we will see some of you in the next few months as we start doing the interviews, and like Andrew said, they're happening on a rapid basis. But yeah, on behalf of Teach Thurrock and Martin, Andrew and I, obviously have a good evening, and if you need anything, drop us an email.